Howdy, folks. How are you today? All right, so let's get into it. Blue electric hand. What is that? Um, During our awakening experience, a lot of us missed a lot of information because we were still waking up, whereas other people were already awakened by a certain time. If you were like me, your experience happened at the end of 2012, whereas most people happen either January of 2012 or 11 years before that. I don't know the reasons why, but I just know by observing so many different stories of people and witnessing different blogs and things like that, I've noticed that people have been saying something happened in the late 1980s, early 1990s. But last night I had a dream. It was sort of like a stigmatic experience where, and as I share with a lot of people, I have these dreams where I'm going to another reality similar to here on Earth, but it's another consciousness. And what I was doing there was reminding me of what's ushering into this earth. And what was happening there was blue electric hand, which 2012 was the year of the blue electric hand from the Mayans. The Mayans were, the tribe of the southern Latin America region, Peru, if you may. They were the tribe and the ancestors that predicted the end of the world. Well, but they didn't say end of the world. They just said end of the calendar, end of the regular calendar, end of regular time. Everything will be shifting X, Y, and Z. Many people looked at that it was the end of the world, but it was the end of that timeline. A new timeline begun. And what's happening is now that we're 7 years away from that moment, that pivotal moment, if you guys are not aware of this, excuse me, everything happens in 7 cycles. 7-year cycle? Ooh. Where did that come from? 7-year cycle. And you also have 3 incidences within a 7-year cycle as well. So if you had 3 major situations that happen within 7 years, it puts you back in a timeline of the most important timeline of all. So of course we go back to 2012, 7 years ago. So I believe we're all going back to our 2012 timeline. The way our schedules are, our work, all that stuff. My work schedule is exactly the same as it was in 2012. And it's funny? As I'm driving, there's police cars driving past me and I'm yawning. What's the deal with that? So it's quite fascinating that I'm looking at how I feel now and how my life shifted back to being kind of like not normalcy but some ease. But of course there's some things that are not in this timeline now collapsing with 2012, but it's just weird how to explain timelines. But we are definitely going back to our 2012 awakening timeline, where I guess we continue December 21st, 2012, this coming December 21st, where we actually go back to finish what we started. The reason why I always feel like what I'm saying is always authentic and correct is because I don't get dream visions like that where they're so detailed where I can remember every single thing about it, to where I could wake up and Google search it and then boom, there it is. So there's an article that I found about the blue electric hand, and she confirmed talking about that was the Mayan year, because that was their sacred year. Kind of like how you have the year of the bull, year of the pig, year jubilee if you're Hebrew or whatnot. So yeah, so that's that, folks. I gotta go to Trader Joe's and then the bank. Ugh. It's like, when you gotta do normal stuff and then you're getting all these like channeled messages and synchronicities in between. It's raining so bad in Los Angeles right now. I give a hand to the the manipulation of the powers that shouldn't be for making, like, you guys gotta see. I'm in a parking lot. This is a good created rainstorm, y'all. Like, I'm being silly, but look at these storm clouds. They did a good job with these storm clouds. Oh yes. We actually have a rain that actually happened. Because the last few months we were told we were going to get rain and it never happened. But this time they made it happen. Anyways, I'm just being silly. You gotta have some laughs and giggles about all this, because if you think about, like, I was watching this movie last night about it's some ship where they were transporting people from Earth to Mars, and something happens. I don't want to spoil alert it, but basically, it makes you think that, is Earth, that we live on, a colony? Have we been colonized? Just think about that. We've been told Earth is normal and all this stuff, but then if everything's geoengineered and processed food and all this stuff, it makes you wonder, what happened and what collapsed to where people started carrying on humanity, after, because everything biblical that I'm reading is not happening as biblical prophetic events. How they're prophesized is not. So if you guys can resonate with that, they'll say apocalyptic weather X, Y, and Z, but if it's man manipulated, therefore it's not biblically, it's almost like debunking, not debunking prophecy, but it kind of is like saying, you could say the Revelation 12 sign that happened in 2017, that was legit because that was in the constellation. But things that are happening on Earth is not technically like prophetic and biblical, because it's man looking at the instructions and going, oh, let's make this happen. Let's make that happen. But then when things happen in the stars and in the skies, that's how to tell the difference between, what is holy and what is Antichrist. Like, everything on Earth that is man orchestrated is all of Antichrist, because it goes against what our discernment and faith and our walk should be. Our walk should be looking up and bringing everything up, Anyways, I navigate. But Blue Electric Hand, I was basically doing this healthcare service on people with cardiac problems. It was sort of like people were able to heal whoever had this ability. And what's fascinating was I woke up this morning and my hands basically are tingling. Like they're tingling and they're shaky. If you could probably tell, they're a little shaky. But there you go. And also my car is running right now. I'm parked, but anything that's motorized or running, it just happens to me automatically, where I'm vibrating with everything. So I know that prophetically I am being used as an instrument to usher in this wisdom and knowledge, and it does come with a little bit of suffering and affliction and things like that. And someone brought this up in my last video in the comments. I appreciate you for saying that. They talked about structure of the head and the bones and the nose and everything like that. And I was quite fascinated to say that I know certain people with this kind of nose that I have are of a particular family, a particular royalty, a particular group of people. And I've realized the lighter skinned people with this kind of nose are a particular culture. And there's a certain family. I won't say the name because I don't want to attract that vibration on my channel. But there's a particular family with a last name, I think you guys can figure it out, who have that same sloop. And then there are the African slaves that were brought here 500 years ago. And then you have the tribe of Judah, which was from the kingdom of Beersheba in Israel. They were all taken out of their environment and basically forced into slavery in Egypt. So they were thrown into Africa, and thus the story begins. So when people try to talk to me about Black History Month and then they say African American, I always want to correct people and say African American were people who were taken from Africa and they were forced into slavery. That's how the Black Friday stock market actually began in America. This is all at the fault of Columbus, who started this whole ideology of let's cross over and let's use people and make them our slaves. But this actually, it goes way back. But if you guys can see how timeline to timeline to timeline, it's the same thing. You could say Christopher Columbus could have been, or Hitler could have been Christopher Columbus. Or you could say that Pharaoh, who was the opposition of Moses, or Ramses, I'm sorry. Ramses, Pharaoh, in Exodus, could have been Christopher Columbus, you know what I mean? Like, you have to always look at everything now as a timeline collapse. And that will help you realize the type of world we live in and the type of reality that we're in currently right now. There goes my confirmation. Because if you focus on just 2019, you're going to get very lost and confused. You have to look at the paper trail of events that keep happening. This is why you don't see a lot of mass shootings, thank goodness, but you don't see a lot of these mass terrorisms and domestic terrorisms because the timelines are now being caught up. It's kind of weird and sad to say that, but I know on the elite side of things that they have their way of doing stuff and we have our thing too. Everyone takes their turn, but you're seeing like it's calming down with all the getting people to timeline jump into their last fear-based timeline or to throw them back to remember something. Even today, a coworker of mine was saying, because it's a gym and somebody was slamming the weight ball on the floor. And the boom, she was like, I'm having a regression of an old timeline. And I was like, Atlantis, before everything caved in. She was like, it's a thumping of something. And so it was kind of fascinating because I was with her at that time it happened and we were looking at each other like, so anyways, I can go on with this conversation. I'm just happy to be recording my videos again. I'm almost back to being well again. I've been kind of sick for the last month. And I'm almost good again. I'm almost back to being where I was before the passing of my sibling. But anyway, I hope you guys are doing well, and I will see you in the next video. Take care, and blue electric hands! Yeah! Oh, I should say that we should start practicing how to increase our chi energy. I guess I'll put that in the next video. So check out for that. All right, bye.